Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Stockbridge Assessors meeting for Monday, November the 15th. And Mike, what have you got?
Okay, everything that was on last meeting minutes is basically mentioned in our new meeting. So number two, the real estate bills are, actually that's number four, but the commitment warrants are ready to be signed, so the bills can be sent out for the real personal CPA, and there are water and sewer liens this year. And the board also has to sign the in-house abatement application for the solar adjustment, which is done every year for Amoresco, so they can pay the amount that is agreed upon, the $12,814, I believe.
So just saying that again, Michael. So we have an agreed amount that they must be charged. So each year we must abate the difference between what?
Between the two bills, there's a real estate bill and there's a personal property bill, and we don't really know that amount until the bills are printed. So we have to basically back into that number because they're not really going to pay a dime more than what is agreed upon by them in the town. So this is just an abatement that's done in-house. We then send a letter to them informing them, out of these two bills, the real estate and the personal property bill, please pay this much out of this one, and we're abating this one. And that'll get sent out today with the tax bills. Hi, Tom.
Hi, sorry for late.
Okay.
Good morning.
So this all leading up to number four, which is right now the tax collector's office is putting the postage on the fiscal year 22 tax bills, and those are going to be sent out, I believe, this afternoon. After you guys sign the warrant, they will be legally okay to send out. And so the issue date for the fiscal year 22 tax bills is November 15th, and they will be due on December 15th.
Just before Christmas.
Yep. Also, Tammy, number 5, will be mailing the statutory exemption applications to the taxpayers that received the exemptions last year. Those would be the blind exemptions, the veterans exemptions, and the elderly exemptions. And if anyone wants to call the assessor's office or look online to get the details about the exemptions and what's available, and we can help you with those, you have until April 1st of next year to apply with the Board of Assessors. But I would recommend that if that's something that you would like to look into, that you actually call us, email us, or stop in, and we can see if you're eligible for any of those. And I would say the sooner the better, because if you are eligible, you will get at least half of the exemption once the board reviews it and agrees to it off of your first half tax bill. So if you actually are eligible for the exemption and you pay your bill in full, then you'll get the full amount of the exemption off of the tax bill. I just wanted to mention that so people are aware that this is the time to look into that. This would also be the time that once you receive your tax bill, if you feel that the assessment in any way, shape, or form is overvalued or inconsistent, there is an application process that you must go through. And there's an application that you can fill out either online, we can email it to you, you can stop in the office. Those applications are due the same day that the tax bills are due, which is the 15th of December. And they cannot be late. They can be postmarked and sent in, but they have to be postmarked on or before the 15th, even if they're late, as long as they're postmarked those dates, we can accept it.
And you also must pay the bill in full.
You have to pay at least the first half. First half has to be paid in full with no interest in order for that to be in the jurisdiction of the board to review. And again, I would recommend, because of the way the postal service is and with the holiday rush, be easier. That's something that you either drop off. And again, if you're going to send that through an email, we need the original copy as well with the signatures to come in before the 15th. Number 6, now that the assessments are approved and the tax bills are going out, the assessor's office will be printing new record cards for the public. They'll be in our system, and again, they're available. They won't be available, the assessments won't be available on the mapping site yet because we're having an update, but that will be soon. But we're hoping to get the record cards printed, and we can still email anyone that needs a copy of a record card or a map to them as long as you request it.
So Michael, does the new property cards include the sketch of the houses yet?
No, not yet. We're still looking into that.
Okay.
Yep. We got a lot that we're going to be putting on the agenda for extra funds because we're in a reval. So I want to sort of incorporate that all into reval amounts. I'm already getting emails from Roy Bishop about our value on the generation plant. So we need to, I don't know when Mike plans on sending out the budget sheets, but as soon as he does, this will be different than any other year because it's been 5 years since we had our last revaluation. And there are items that we're going to have to fund. That and a few others, which we'll go over, as soon as the budgets are, I know he's going to work on them soon, but we don't want to wait too long because the state probably will be calling me soon to start doing their early random review of record cards, which I wouldn't be surprised if that will be sometime in December or January. There's going to be a lot of mailers that are going to be going out as well. 5 years is a long time, but it's not unusual. We know what we have to send out, and we're probably going to have to do the personal property second homeowner study as well. That's a big one this year. So yeah, but I can at least get the values onto Access GIS so people can at least look up the valuations. And we do have the new tax list as well, the new commitment book in our office that shows all the new values. And Tammy has a listing run every which way or loose that you want to know. We can print that out for you as well.
So was the commitment book ever put online?
The commitment book's not put online. Because the way that the commitment is done, it's in an ASCII format. So really we don't do the conversion here. SoftRate does the conversion. So, I mean, I tried to look at the data and it's just this raw data, and how they do the conversion is beyond me. But we can basically print anything that's on that commitment book in a report form. And that can probably go online if people want to see it.
I go on a few websites looking for other assessors and I haven't seen it for other towns either. But it just seems like it wouldn't be hard to put on.
We get a lot of requests for it, and it's an Excel file, so it could be done. I think there's a lot of things that we're looking into, especially on the exemption side, to get on the website. I've always said I think there needs to be a lot more on there, and I know that they're looking into it. But I think it should be a priority. I think there should be a lot more.
Yeah, and that Access GIS works really well, and it's very easy to
it's wonderful.
pull property cards without contacting the office.
And you can also do your own abutters list. That's I use that program to do the abutters list when I get a request from another office. So taxpayers can actually do that, print their own labels. It's a wonderful tool. I would say definitely look into it. I would also say if you're interested in copies of your deeds, mass land records is another place. I mean, that's one of those daily routines that I'm always going into. If it's either the Access GIS or mass land records, and even the state's website, the Division of Local Services, all the forms that we have available are also available there. So there's a lot of resources for information, especially now when there's, so many real estate transactions taking place. These are tools that the public should really look into.
Mike, would it be possible to, on this podcast, to give the web addresses for Access GIS and others, maybe?
You mean links to those?
Yeah.
I think they are on there. I don't know if Mass Land Records is. I know the towns, I think our page has the link to the Access GIS, but I'm not sure if the Mass Land Records. We can look into that though. I thought Mass Land Records and the direct link to the Division of Local Services would probably be the best ones, those three together for people that are looking up information, because there's a lot of pamphlets that are available in PDF form.
So in case anyone is interested, can you spell out now the address of Access GIS, or you don't have it in front of you?
Oh, boy, I don't know the exact,
Yeah.
Okay.
I know Mass Land Records is www.masslandrecords.com, and we are part of the Berkshire Middle that you would have to pick. And once you're in there, you literally can find, again, it's a daily routine. I'm always looking in there to see what the current sales are for that day.
Great.
But I can get those, so they're on there. Again, I think Teresa is looking into the exemptions side of it now, because last week she was taking a lot of notes about what we have available. So I think we're going to start putting more stuff on there, and not to also rule out doing some kind of video, which we talked about, that would talk about the deferral of the taxes, which again, we don't right now have any taxpayers that are doing that, but it could be something that someone looks into. I don't even have the form yet for that, but I'll have to print that out. There's a lot more that can be put on there and should be put on there. Tom, I did get the number 8. I didn't have a chance to review the pilot that you sent around, but I will this week. But I know it looks like you got some good feedback.
I have, and I've gotten quite detailed feedback actually from Peter Strauss
I saw that, yes.
in 2 emails actually. And I thought I was ready to send it out, but I think Peter's, a number of his points are well taken and some of his edits were good. So I'm actually in the process now of redrafting it, so you can wait for the new draft.
Oh, okay. Yep, I was just working on the labels for the tax.
His suggestions. One of his suggestions, which I thought was good, was when we say, total assessment is X, tax exempt property is valued at Y. He suggested that the Y be broken down into properties that we would expect to be part of a pilot and properties that we would not expect to be part of the pilot.
Are those,
Properties that
Those are
we would not
current?
expect would be, for instance, conservation land that Laurel Hill owns, conservation land that the Stockbridge Bowl Association owns. These are sort of publicly used, and we're not going to be asking Laurel Hill and the Stockbridge Bowl Association to be giving money in lieu of taxes for that property. So if we could separate that out, I think that would give a more clear indication of
so
the,
you mean a list of all the land conservancy groups that we have that are currently tax exempt?
correct. And,
Okay.
and I think we ought to present to them a number minus the land that's tax exempt, so that we have a realistic picture that we're trying to get payments in lieu of taxes for the properties that would not include
Okay.
conservation land.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a little, I think trying to do that classification might be a little bit difficult. And so I think Michael might need more direction, like, is it, if there's not a structure on there, would that be the trigger? So what are the rules by which Michael would have to divide
I would
those?
think it would be just purely conservation land.
Purely just land. So
Yeah,
if there's a
like
building on there
Stockbridge
or
Bowl has
operations.
the island, it has Bullet Woods. When it comes to Tanglewood, they have both, so we won't try to separate it out.
Yeah.
When it comes to trustees of reservation, they have both. We won't try to set it out, separate it
That's
out.
not hard to
But if trustees had a piece of property that was just all land, say Monument Mountain, it's not in our town. But in that case,
We could, yeah.
so if it was.
If it was a parcel that had no structure on it at all and was public access, then we would not include that.
Yep, I'm not sure I would know the exact, you would have to review those with me. or as a group for the public access ones.
All
I
right.
don't know if I have the detail on the actual, like all the Laurel Hill ones. I can tell you if they have buildings on them or not, but I don't think they do.
Not a building on any of them.
No. So those would be excluded from,
Let's get a list of the ones that would clearly be excluded.
okay,
If there's some that we're not sure of yet, we can just make note of that.
gotcha. Is there a time frame for?
Well, I would like to have, we're now getting into Thanksgiving and then, so I don't think we're going to be sending this out before the Thanksgiving week, but I'd like to send out the notice right after that.
Okay,
So, and whatever information we can, that's fine, but we can also make note that,
and you're not talking about anything with a CR on it because those are taxable.
No, I'm
Okay.
talking about simply public land that's clearly of public use, that Laurel Hill owns, that, that we're.
Because I can run it easily by use code, which would, anything with a 9 on it is exempt, but the extension on it can tell me if it's a piece of land or not.
And we can also make note that in terms of its state land, that we're making separate,
Okay, there's not a lot of that
there's
that we have.
very little in Stockbridge, I know that.
And I have that segregated anyway because the state has a separate valuation system for state-owned land. We no longer have to use the state's system. They now value it themselves because for years, they were making us do it under their own land schedule, which would throw off our own land schedule. I'm very grateful they do it themselves now and because we get money from that land, even though it's exempt. So that's easy to take out. I know exactly what you're looking for, just the
Okay.
conservancy groups and you don't want anything with a building on it.
Yeah,
Okay. What if it's like a little shed or something
well,
like that?
we could,
I don't think
let's
there's a
start
lot of
off
that.
with what's pretty clear, I mean, for instance, Gould Meadows, the town owns, so there's a little shed there, but that doesn't fit into this calculus
Okay.
anyway.
Were there any other suggestions that he made?
Other than some minor edits that I thought were good, there was one edit that he didn't understand what I was getting at, so I needed to clarify.
Okay,
And that edit had to do with, there's a section that says, we suggest a half of the assessed value, and of that half of that can be services in kind that the organization. And then I also say, if you, instead of, I talk about how I ask if they are giving money, is there any particular program they'd like to give it to? And he interpreted that as part of the 25% that we're expecting in cash. And I intended that to be the part that's in lieu of public services.
okay,
So I think we want at least, the guideline is at least a quarter that goes into the general fund. And then for the other quarter, it can either be services in kind, or if they wish, maybe they're particularly interested in a program for elder services or other types of things, or Community Preservation Act or whatever, they can specify that they would like those kinds of expenditures.
so when the draft is done, well, let's just say when you finalize this, what's next? Is it letters that go out to?
The draft is done. And by the way, Patrick is working on putting this so that it can all be done online. And he has professional experience on this, so they can.
Oh, so you mean actually filling the form out?
Yeah, they don't have to print it and then check it and handwrite it. They can do it all online. If they prefer to print it and write it in a hard copy, they can do that. And so,
And is it something that's coming back to our office or the selectman's office?
that's a good question. I was thinking that I'd ask that they would send it to me and then I would redistribute it.
Okay,
I think
All right.
it's probably the most efficient.
So Tom, is there any considerations for, we're still sort of in, some of these nonprofits may be affected by COVID. So
Like what?
some of these nonprofits may be affected by COVID.
Yes.
So is there, again, this is totally voluntary, but is there any type of guidelines associated with?
I think that would be up to, I mean, we can make that as we can say that we understand some organizations are still dealing with COVID and they're not yet in a position to sign a long-term pilot agreement with the town. But I think that can be taken up by the Board of Selectmen that actually negotiate the actual pilot agreements.
Okay.
So we can have some flexibility there.
Hi, guys. It's Peter Strauss here. I wonder if I could add just one thing.
mm-hmm,
Yes, Peter. And Peter, thanks again for your terrific edits and suggestions.
Not at all. The kind of principal motivator for me is in making editorial suggestions is to put the town's claims, if I can put it that way, more clearly forward. The initial draft seems to put our expenses in there as an afterthought. For example, in Tom's draft, the listing of things that we do that might be of value to the nonprofits doesn't appear until after he's an item that says, well, anything else? And then the very last item is, well, here are the things we do for you.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that order should be changed, and I think that was a good suggestion.
Okay, good.
I made note of that, Peter, and again, thank you.
okay.
And if you'd like, Peter, I can run the initial draft by you before I send it to everybody else. That might be more efficient since you're the person.
I'd really be happy to see it, and I'm really grateful for your attention.
Okay, sounds good, Peter. And again, many thanks.
Okay, so if you want to go into, there are things to say, anything else, Doug?
No.
Okay,
Oh. So we have to do this?
yep,
Okay. So at this point, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go into executive session to discuss, what are we going to discuss?
motor vehicle, you have motor vehicle abatements,
Yeah.
motor vehicle abatements and the rest of the CL1.
Okay, so we're going to discuss motor vehicle abatements and the CL1 forms. And Mike, if you could just say what the CL1 forms are, chapter 61.
It's the annual filings for the 61 chapters land that have to be done, due October 1st, but we get them in and we've got them all in now. So they all have to be signed before January 1st. So these are just the scragglers that
Okay.
came in.
And when we leave the session, we will not come back out into the public. So I would entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.